Hi, my name's Cordelia and you are watching the Compost Toilet Making course. I became interested in compost toilets really through becoming interested in the environment and how we live in the environment, what resources we use in our everyday life. And my husband and I run Vallis Veg, which is a market garden and campsite and many other things, a land-based project, I would say, in Somerset near Frome. And we have accumulated quite a lot of compost toilets over the years. That's largely actually because we're off-grid for everything except we have mains water. So we needed a way of dealing with waste. But originally I became interested in compost toilets because it's such an important part of how nutrients are cycled. And the way we do it in broader society, when you stop and think about it, it seems completely mad. We take water, clean it, turn it into lovely clean drinking water, and then poo in it, flush it away. We have an enormous complicated system for carrying it away to sewage plants where it's then great big structures process it to try and get any contaminants out of it. Sometimes when it's been mixed with all sorts of other things that make it more contaminated than it otherwise would be. And then we have to deal with it as waste. And historically, that has caused a big pollution problem. We're getting much better at dealing with the pollution problem, but even if you separate out the other contaminated wastewater, so you're only dealing with toilet waste, you process it really well, you flush it away with your drinking water, take it away, use a great big processing plant to process it, and then you end up with something that can be carted on the backs of lorries, probably onto agricultural land, which is in my area, Wessex water, almost all of sewage sludge does go back onto land, either agricultural or other land. But that's still an enormous big process you're going through to do it, and it still seems a bit crazy. Then where it's not put back onto agricultural land, you buy NPK fertilizer, nitrogen, potassium and phosphate fertilizer, which takes loads of energy to produce, put that on the ground, which can itself, if too much is put on, same as with any fertilizer, organic or otherwise, it can run off and cause eutrophication and stuff, when actually we're treating the nitrogen, potassium and phosphate that we excrete through our urine and feces as a waste product. So the whole thing is a bit mad. And if we can get away from it here in our place, that's what we want to do. So we have only had compost toilets here ever since we came on site. We moved on site in 2014, but we've had the land longer. So we did have one toilet that we had longer than that, but we will see that. So that's kind of how I became quite passionate about compost toilets. And on our site, there's all sorts of different ways you can use compost toilets. On our site, there are a few things we do, like we don't let any urine or feces go straight into the ground unprocessed, uncomposted. Partly because it's a valuable resource, and also because it doesn't feel like a good thing to do. I know you can have soakaways and things, but it doesn't seem like a good way to treat the environment. This course is for anyone who's interested in building a compost toilet for themselves. It's very much about how you can just do it. And there's a range from incredibly simple systems, which I'm actually a really big fan of, through to much more all singing, all dancing, my final toilet, which I'm in the process of building, and you will see the last bits happening on film. Much more kind of complicated and expensive and infrastructural projects. We have a campsite. We use compost toilets in the campsite. So you might be somebody who wants to install compost toilets in your campsite. You might be somebody living on a piece of land who wants to design a compost toilet, figure out what would work for you. You might want a compost toilet specifically to harvest the nutrients if you're growing vegetables and you want to be using a renewable resource that you produce yourself to feed your vegetables and then feed yourself. Or you might be in a situation where you don't have a safe toilet you can go to and you want to be able to provide yourself with a safe toilet. And going to the toilet is such a basic function. To be able to deal with your own toilet needs without being locked into the whole big infrastructure of global capitalism is very empowering. We're also going to look at how to install some of the components that are absolutely key to making a compost toilet work. I did once teach a weekend on compost toilet building, and I had 4 women come, and what we ended up doing was building part of the structure but not the whole compost toilet, and all of them said that they hadn't just picked up a drill and a piece of wood and made something out of the wood before, and that was what they got from it. And it felt to me like such an important lesson that you can just start building something small and add to your knowledge, and it can feel really intimidating starting a big project. But if you break it down and you think about who you need to ask, there's a lot of problem solving and a lot of trying to find out who to ask and looking for the right YouTube videos. But you can do it. I guess my basic message is, if you want to, you can just have a go and you may be able to do more than you think. Thank you for having purchased the course. Welcome to the journey. I hope you enjoy it.